say that the youth are involved because they participate in the elections by voting. They are also the same persons who attend rallies and whatnot. Sadly, not at the decision-making level, because most of the time it's their vote that's required to propel some of these leaders to power. So I'd say they are enablers. The youth have not benefited from politics because they're never at the table where the decisions are made. And so most of the time, some people make the decisions for them, and so they end up getting the short end of the stick. I think the youth themselves should rise up and demand more space in the political field, because no one will bring it to them. No one will. You see, even the politicians that we currently have, they started as youth. They demanded the space. They were there in the struggle. So it's up to the youth to rise up and demand their space too.
I tend to think that the youth are not fully involved in the Kenyan politics, and mostly they're involved towards the general elections. After elections are done, the youth are left on their own. At what levels the youth have been involved in politics? Truth be told, voter registration. That's the time that the youths are usually involved in this country. Despite laws being put in place that favor the youth in terms of even tenders being given to them, but mostly when it comes to elections, that's the time utapata wanasiasa wakisema vijana jitokezeni, mujiwasilishe, as registered voters. I tend to think, and it's my prayer, that we'll reach a point where the same way we have laws that touch on women, like the 2/3 gender rule that the country is trying to achieve, is the same way we need to have a law that dictates that when it comes to office appointments, and also when it comes to the elective seats, just the same way for women it's 2/3, at least even for the young people in this country, it should be a quarter or even that 2/3, so that we can have a higher number of qualified young youths in parliament. And when I say qualified young youths, because it doesn't mean that every young person is born a leader, So I wish, and it's my humble appeal to all the political leaders who are in not even the 12th parliament, the 13th parliament that is coming, that let's have laws that will favor the youths in terms of elective seats. That's the way we have the law that touches on women 2/3 gender rule. Let's also have one that touches on the youth, so that we can have young people, the representation in parliament, both the Senate and the National Assemblies. And also in terms of appointments, we should ensure that we also have laws that say that this percentage, of young people should be appointed in when it comes to appointments that are being made by the government, be it in the cabinet or in parastatals, government institutions.
My name is Chebet Birir. I'm a health and science reporter here at the Standard Group. I think it's a good thing that a lot of youth are coming up to join politics, either in participating in terms of opinion, and also in terms of vying. We are seeing a lot of youth vying for various seats, and I think it's a good thing, because if you look at the population of youth in the country, it forms the majority of citizens, and it's also important because youth actually are the people who can bring change in this country, considering they're the ones who have the energy, they have the brains, they have the agility. So I think it will help Kenyans in such a way that the youth of this time are not afraid to speak up, and I hope that the older generation will give them a chance to bring change to this nation of ours. In as much as there are a lot of youth coming up, and you saw in the nominations where some people were being favored in place of others, some youth were denied chances, and I think we should have a different approach when it comes to allowing youth to vie for political seats. Let there be democracy, and let the youth have a chance to lead.
If the youth get involved in politics, then they get involved in decision making decisions that will affect their future. But that is where, again, there's a mismatch, because they want to get involved for direct benefit. Like, I get involved today and tomorrow I get money, I become a rich politician. They should be getting involved at the level of political party mobilization. That is where most people start from. Mobilizers at the grassroots level, then you rise through the ranks before you get to national leadership. And I think that is where there's a mismatch. More youth should get involved at grassroots mobilization level. Even Barack Obama, that's where he started. You start mobilizing kule chini before you rise to the rank of president or any other rank.
I would say 70% of the time they are involved as political muscle. So to help politicians when they're chanting in rallies, when they're hired as political crowds. And the other 30%, we have seen a rise in the number of youth going into active politics. But even in active politics, most of those young people are really kind of supporters of these older generation politicians. So they're actually following in the footsteps of those older politicians with the hope that they can take their place. But we haven't seen young people who are rising from the ground up, like with support from young people. So yeah, for me, I feel like the youth are in that space, but they're not as active as we would want them to be. The best approach for the youth would be for them to mobilize. First of all, youth improving their conscious understanding of politics. So how does politics affect my livelihood? How does politics and economics relate? How does the policies the politicians pass in parliament affect their lives? So that understanding shifts the attention from the personalities in politics, but what these personalities do. So for me, the approach would be them forming communities, so like trade unions where it's young people, community organizations, and from there sprouts a leader. And like if we have so many leaders who are actively involved in politics and they're young people, then definitely we would have a movement that is just predominantly youth-centered.
Fire!